and welcome back to another episode of the Friday Tech Roundup. I'm Louise and I will give you the inside scoop on the latest and greatest tech news from the past week. And you'll be able to read more on everything mentioned by visiting the comments section below. Ready to dive in? Let's go. So first up, the Bank of England is reportedly at risk of moving too slow when it comes to new cloud technologies. Last week, the central bank raised fresh concerns about putting complete trust in cloud services when they remain dominated by just a few companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. Having lots of firms on just one of three providers dangerously over-centralizes infrastructure, increasing cybersecurity risks, hacking, and outages targeted at one single provider. If we look back to just a few months ago, this is exactly what happened to top name news websites like the BBC and Guardian when Fastly went down. I guess the question is the fear with brands themselves or a lack of governance over cloud providers? Is decentralization the answer to greater financial stability? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Next up, you've probably heard that China was accused of a cyber attack earlier this week on the Microsoft Exchange servers, which affected more than 30,000 organizations globally. Microsoft blamed Chinese cyber espionage group Hafnium, which was reportedly state-sponsored and based in China. Sources say the hack seems to signal a shift from a targeted espionage campaign to a smash-and-grab raid, leading to concerns that Chinese cyber behaviour is escalating. Well, China has hit back at this accusation, now saying that these claims have been fabricated by the US and allies. Deja vu, anyone? Number 3, a new organisation has emerged to help accelerate the technology efforts to combat climate change. Using a name inspired by Indonesian farmers, Subak will share information and fund high-tech solutions. The organisation selects and funds non-profit groups, and one group already selected is helping to boost UK electric car use, while another is using accurate weather forecasts to make best use of solar power and limit fossil fuel burning. These efforts are being launched after a week of headlines highlighting how perilous life on Earth is becoming as global heating grips the planet. Number 4, and we're still in the cloud. Capital One plans to hire more than 3,000 technologists by the end of 2021 to help build on its cloud banking leadership. According to Chris Nims, SVP of Technology, Capital One is the first financially regulated company that runs entirely in the cloud after closing its last data center in 2020. Praising AWS, Nims believes its cloud-first approach and dedicated tech college will attract top talent and enable it to continue competing against the likes of Silicon Valley. This is a great story of how one company reinvented its operating model, moving to 100% agile for delivery of software, leveraging microservices and building upon open source software to become a bank that a tech company could build. And finally, number 5, the UK government has announced plans to make fake online reviews illegal. Fake reviews are estimated to influence nearly £23 billion of purchases in the UK every year. And in 2019, over a quarter of British retailers encountered positive bogus reviews by their rivals or negative reviews on themselves. The government wants to make it an offence to pay an individual or a company to write or host a bogus review. And the new guidelines would also give the CMA the power to impose tighter restrictions, such as fines of up to 10% of a firm's global turnover. But the question is, how are they actually going to go about policing this? So that's all the tech news we've got time for, but as usual, I've got a few shout outs. So first up, our CX webinar called Peeling Back the Plasters on CX was last week, and we got some really great insights from the discussion, joined by Water Plus, Brain Food Consulting, AWS, and ECS. We chatted about lessons learned from the pandemic, successes during the pandemic, and what's next on the horizon for CX. Also, we've got another podcast out where we're joined by Gillian, Arthur and Patrick for a little behind the scenes conversation about the DevOps Playground. Speaking of the DevOps Playground, I hope you've registered ahead of our next one on the 29th of July, where we'll be doing a Terraform deep dive. So thank you again for joining me on this week's episode of the Friday Tech Roundup. Make sure to come back next week for even more tech news.